everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Talk to Me About, the Guilty Gear podcast where we talk about your faves and why you love them. I'm your host, Dee. Hello? Who the fuck is Frodo Smokins? Hello? Oh. Okay. I think this is a random... Oh, it's a random Axel. Okay, you know what? That's
Bro just wanted to hop on for some games of eggs.
And today we're here to talk about the most important Guilty Gear character ever, Gabriel, who is not the character I'm playing right now. This is Potemkin. And I'm playing Exerd because, I don't know, I figured it's something new to try. This guy's gonna be really disappointed when he figures out I'm not a pop player, but,
I don't think he will be. I think he's playing his own, or I don't think he'll be disappointed to hear that you're playing anything.
Oh, look at him go.
You don't need to be here.
Sorry, you know, I'm keeping this entire intro in because this is like a delightful form of misery, in a way. And I'm here with Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hello.
Got anything to say about Gabriel?
No, just excited to be here talking about a man who will surely be added to the cast come the next two passes of Guilty Gear Strive.
Praying hands emoji.
Mm-hmm.
Nice day, please.
And, you know, he's shockingly more popular than you'd think because he ranked like 8 or 10 on the most requested character for Strive poll, so it's not like this is out of nowhere that we're making an episode for him.
Yeah, particularly popular in Europe, which like
number 10 in Europe, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 10.
We made it to the
We don't gotta be
polls.
specific.
Fuck, this Axel's smoking my shit. This sucks.
I mean, it is
lost
Pot into
your
Axel. It's like a very bad matchup for you.
And anyways, enough of that dallying. Let me actually introduce the people that love Gabriel more than anyone else. First up, it's Zelda. Hi, Zelda.
Hi. I have been a fighting game player for a very long time, but no other character has spoken to me as much as Gabriel. I don't play Guilty Gear too much because I think Tekken is a better game, but I love Gabriel with all my heart. I have "You Are Free" written above my bed, so I look at it each morning when I wake up. And yeah, I have a lot to say about the guy.
Thank you for joining us and taking a long break from Tekken to meet with us to talk about a very important man today. I appreciate that. Thanks, Zelda. Next up, we have Ellie. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
Hi.
So, what to say? I am a Guilty Gear fan, but more of a casual. I've been in since 2021. 2022, the Zepp autism hit real bad, so now I'm here.
Yeah.
I really like Gabriel. I think he should marry me, maybe.
True.
Maybe.
Just maybe. That's
Self-ship
about it.
real as fuck.
He's quite beautiful, and you know, he really puts himself together well. He's got that nice suit on.
I would say
He's a dedicated man.
I
a
love a man in
strong,
uniform.
angular gentleman.
Quick, can one of you guys please fight me? I can't go against this guy. No! He's not! No!
Return.
I am trapped in an endless hell of Axel lows, which is only 1% of the pain people feel when they realize Gabriel is not in Strive yet. So,
They're really
fitting.
living through it.
and last but not least, we have Gabe, who runs a very famous account on Twitter. And if you would mind talking about a little bit about that, hi.
Very famous. I'm flattered. Well, hi. I run a Twitter account that has been ceaselessly, endlessly annoying Arc System Works for approximately 3 years. And I will not stop. And
It is dedication, though.
yeah, I love the guy. I love my sweet baby boy. And yeah, that's
Very
my
glad
mission.
to have you on, at least.
I'm always happy to discuss again my sweet baby boy.
Like, quite literally Zepp's strongest soldier right now, so again, very grateful to have a true celebrity out here, the forefront of the lines fighting for Gabriel's inclusion in Strive, which we will surely get within maybe 3 DLC passes, but it'll happen.
It will
You
happen.
know,
Manifest it.
Thank God we have you to at least comment on every single post that the Arxis intern tries to make about Biken's toes or Ramlethal's feet sweat or whatever. We at least have you there to remind people who this is all for, which is President Gabriel.
Yes.
I'm doing my part.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for your
There's a saying that we have in the holonet. which is tomorrow for sure. I think
Tomorrow, exactly.
Applies here as well.
And I gotta say, you've outlived a couple of the interns. Like, I think you've gone through 3 ArcSys interns at this point, so, the love for Gabriel is stronger than any horniness they have.
It's true.
Keep them coming, baby.
I think one of them, he loved me so much, and he even told me, I love seeing, your constant posts on everything we put up here.
Damn.
I think he's still following me. He's such a nice guy, so... Shout out, I don't even know his name, unfortunately, but shout out to that guy.
Yeah, that's
And I love you,
You a real
Brandon
one.
Simpson.
I like to imagine that's what Gabriel does on Zepp, too, He's close to the community. I think he'd do that.
A man of the people.
Man of the people. So, important question. First of all, I feel like I should clarify for those. I did get bullied into making this episode, but I'm very happy to make it because I think Gabriel actually has a lot going on. Especially more than Potemkin, which is kind of funny to think about, that the playable character is the one that has less than the non-playable character with 6 minutes of screen time. But it's true. There is a lot going on with Gabriel, and he is responsible for a lot of the world building of one of the major regions in the game. And, what I haven't told you is that this is actually the second time I am recording this, because the first time I recorded it, I accidentally deleted all the audio, and I messed up.
It's
so,
okay.
You know what? You guys don't even understand how privileged you are to get double the Gabriel content. My loyal viewers, totally.
Let's go.
Mannequin Gabriel experience.
Outside of that, though, I think it's an important question to ask once and for all. Who is Gabriel and what is Zepp? I think that'd be a pretty good place to start when talking about him.
I think Ellie would be better to ask for what exactly is Zepp, but I can get the ball rolling on who Gabriel is. So Gabriel is a very interesting character because as you said, he definitely has a lot going on, even with 6 minutes of screen time. I don't exactly agree that he has more going on than Potemkin. I think we can get to that in the Potemkin episode. But
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not the most familiar with both of them, so that was just kind of my precursory thing.
Yeah.
But
so Gabriel is interesting because he represents a part of the Guilty Gear world that we don't often see, right? Which is the geopolitics going on between Illyria, Zepp, the Eastern Ship Kingdom, where have you, right? Mm-hmm. So he's very interesting, right? Because he's primarily introduced as not only a diplomatic figure but a father figure, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because Potemkin obviously does not know whoever his biological parents are. If he even has biological parents, it's possible he was created in a lab, this, that, and the other thing. But Gabriel really represents so many concepts that are integral to Guilty Gear as a series, and that's why I think it's such a shame that Daisuke doesn't really do anything with them. But it's
hasn't done anything with him yet so far.
So far.
Something's
Hi,
cooking.
Hi, Daisuke. Hi, hope you're listening. So Gabriel, I think, is a unique menagerie of grief, responsibility, and power, right? Because he's I mean, both literally and figuratively, one of the most human characters in the series, right? And he takes so much on his shoulders that the rest of the world, kind of both in our real world fandom and in the Guilty Gear world, kind of take for granted. And I think it's super duper nuanced, the topics that he gets into, and what he means to Zepp and the rest of the world. Now we'll hand it off to Ellie, who is surely a better explainer of what Zepp is.
I'd like to think that Zepp is a culmination of what happens when you let Indian and Pakistani geopolitics get a little too far. Of course, you can't divorce Zepp from being of Indian origin, though it is not of Indian political origin, it's of Indian financial origin.
Right.
Because you had the billionaire make the dreadnought, everyone got on. But Zepp is what I'd like to think something that I could see my home countries becoming should they go a little off the rails within the next few years.
Yeah.
I mean, the constant military coups, instability, slavery being prominent, these are all issues that affect us to this day. I think I have...
Would you say that, like, Zepp is, like, a perfect, like, encapsulation of, like, the end point of capitalism in a way, too?
Oh, yeah. I would like to think that Zepp only exists because of what happened with outsourcing black tech labor to begin with. You would not have such an importance placed on black tech if it weren't in a country that relies on it for its financial growth. India gets, like, so much outsourcing jobs from, let's say, US, UK, even Canada. So to remove black tech entirely for the dawn of revival, I could see why Zepp exists, and I could see why Zepp got to the point it did. It's mainly just, you can't remove those jobs that some people need, only for you to realize, wait, a billionaire made this, and all the people on here are probably rich. So where did the slaves come from? And then it becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah. Zepp is definitely, as a set piece with real world, like, implications and stuff, it begs a lot of questions of, hey, this is a giant floating airship. This is the most advanced technology we know to man. How did this all come to be? And it's just asking that question of who are actually the people responsible for these things, and...
Right.
Now there's a random Eno.
Yeah, and
very interesting.
It's really cool that despite being like kind of superficially farcical, it's like, oh, it's an entire country on an airship, that Zepp really does do a lot to give the setting of Guilty Gear as a whole a lot more dimension and tangibility, you know? Because it's like you're saying, Ellie, like pretty much obviously, like if something like the Dawn of Revival were to happen in the real world, there would absolutely be a lot of holdouts, and almost certainly in places that rely so heavily on like technology for their economies, that are saying like, well, no, I'm not going to just like drop technology because you say like some weird evil robot's trying to manifest through it. Like I have a livelihood to maintain here.
That woman can't hurt me.
Yeah.
No,
She's simply not real.
Yeah, no, I think in many ways Zepp is kind of the realest part of Guilty Gear. I mean, you know, there's also all of like the interpersonal shit that happens between everyone in the cast, and I respect that. But in terms of like setting and like idea, I think Zepp is like definitely the most, I mean, ironically grounded in reality.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like let's keep it a buck here. Illyria's not happening, right? The United States reviving itself is not happening, right? Like there are so many things about the setting itself of Gear that just aren't feasible, except as I said, ironically for Zepp. And I think Gabriel is such a good kind of jumping off point for explaining Zepp as a concept, right? Because I mean, obviously, you know, he's the number one, he's its leader, but I think in general he describes the project of Zepp really well with who he is as a character. I think my I think number one thing about Gabriel is the fact that he exists as a protector, right? And he understands the flaws with the system of Zepp and how it came to be, and why it's so messed up that he needed to wage war to turn it into a republic and all these things, right? But he still has faith in the people and the ideals of Zepp as he assigns them, right? Because like let's not forget, he's not just Zepp's leader; he's also its constitution.
Yeah.
He's
So
rebuilding that shit from the ground up.
Exactly.
After what? Was it 107 years of the first military coup, like completely overturning the pre-existing government?
Yeah, and then he said, I'm really strong actually, so I'm gonna punch the CEO of slavery in the face. And and he got to work. But I think Zepp kind of existing as something that wasn't per se like meant to be there. Like it doesn't exactly fit in the rest of like the geopolitical climate of Gear, but it happens to persist anyway through its own like sheer willpower is very indicative of Gabriel, and Gabriel is very indicative of that, right? Because Gabriel, by all means, should not be alive, right? He survived waging an entire war against an entire country effectively by himself. He after like surmounting the empire of Zepp and turning it into a republic, he still had to deal with all of this, insane work of turning what was effectively an economic operation into a country, right?
Yeah.
And then he had to be human in a world full of monsters, right? Like his best buddy is a vampire, right? Like his son, his adopted son, is a genetic freak, and his best friend is a vampire. Like he knows how not normal he is. He knows how much he doesn't fit in. But with his strength and with his power, he carved out a place for himself, and that's exactly what Zepp did also. And I think that is super cool.
That's so beautiful.
I think in so doing, you really kind of expose sort of like the fundamental truth of how Gear as a whole sort of presents the idea of humanity and being human, where it's like the superficial, while it can create obstacles for people in their lives, is ultimately irrelevant when it comes to sort of ordaining your own purpose in life and realizing that you can be like the master of your own life and happiness. Like, even though someone may appear a certain way or have a particular background, it's fundamentally about the things that they want to do to enrich their soul, and that everyone is entitled to that pursuit of happiness and that ability to be like generatively selfish. It's like really cool. I think it's such a unique message for a kind of an anime game put forward there, which is like care about yourself, like first and foremost, because like the world will try to tear you down and come at you, even though if it is a beautiful place, like there are people out there. So it's important that you hold that close at all times. Like I'm going to love myself and I'm going to fight so that other people can love themselves too. And I think you're totally on the money that Gabriel like really perfectly exemplifies that. But I want to circle back to personal significance in a minute and just really quickly also address a bit more about the aesthetics of Zepp, sort of in reference to Ellie's like compendium that she wrote, which is super duper cool, and that if you're listening to this, you absolutely should check out if you want to hear more about Gabriel and Zepp. But I think to an undiscerning eye, you take a look at the aesthetics of like Zepp and you see Potemkin and Gabriel, and your first inclination might be like, oh, this is like taking a lot of points from like classic German or Russian aesthetic. But I think the really neat thing that Ellie pointed out is that it's a lot more South Asian inspired than most would know. If you want to talk about that, Ellie.
So let's touch on Gabriel's appearance first, because I think that'd be the most obvious to point out. A lot of Zepp's aesthetics when it comes to the uniforms are based on Indian and Pakistani Air Force uniforms, which fits well with Zepp being an airship.
It's very cool that like Gabriel's like embodying the pilot in a way, and it's a cultural pilot. Very cool.
Yeah, the stuff he wears, it's very ceremonial and more for if you're on the ground. If you're a fighter jet pilot, you will go for the olive green with some red accents that you see Potemkin wear. But Gabriel wears a mix of the female Pakistani Air Force uniform used for marches and ground control, which is a very light blue powder blue. India uses a similar one. I think his cap takes more from the Indian variant. But he also has a veshti, which is a political... I wouldn't say it's political, but you see a lot of political leaders wearing it. It's that little wraparound skirt he has with the slit. Usually the slit would be to his left, but he has it part down the middle, and he pairs it with his uniform. And if you look at other soldiers who wear the powder blue in some background stages, he's the only one to wear veshti, which kind of like sets him apart from others. You will see prime ministers wear veshtis, you will see At most political gatherings, like if you're a party representative, you will probably be wearing a veshti. And the lining will represent your faction.
Real quick, you mentioned that like this is the something that like specifically the prime ministers wear. First of all, is this something that Pakistan and India, do they have prime ministers or presidents? Because it's interesting to me that Gabriel calls himself specifically a president. Like, I guess maybe that's more to emphasize the democratic nature of things, but...
I would say currently, we have prime ministers, but it's more of a dictatorial situation. Pakistan just went under a removal of their last prime minister, Imran Khan, so I would recommend reading up on that if you're watching this and you're like, who the hell is that? It is a sticky situation. We've had like a history of military coups, takeovers, and India. We don't talk about India's prime minister. I am Pakistani myself. He's just a horrible guy. But public opinion about our leaders, no matter what their position is, we usually call them dictators. Yeah. Unless you're a nationalist. So that's why I think Gabriel stands out a bit, because he's a president. He won by a popular vote even after leading the country into a revolution. And voting system...
It's interesting thing that you say that, like, that he's, like, donning the clothes of what were, like, historically dictators then, but he is democratic, like, in nature. Like, it's like, I guess it is immediately bringing to mind that he's a difference from, like, real-world politics and things like that. Or do you think it was just maybe Daisuke was looking at, like, hey, what do officials in these regions wear? Oh, they wear, like, powder blue and things like that, and he's wearing the, like, specific emblems. That's probably what they should look like. Also, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you at all. I was just mostly curious myself.
So when I look at Gabriel, of course you have the references to M. Bison from the Street Fighter series, which he is not the greatest guy.
No.
Lack of pupils.
The big villain.
He also had powder blue in some iterations of his outfit. And Gabriel even had a little black overcoat on his back, much like Bison's in Missing Link. I think when Daisuke was looking at Gabriel, he was not initially thinking about, oh, I'm going to design this with the intent of being Indian, because we got the India confirmation, I think, Exerd. But he certainly worked with it by Exerd. He adopted it by Exerd. You can tell that Daisuke paid a bit of attention to our cultural aesthetics as well, because I will get into Zepp's background stages and how they kind of look like our architecture in a little bit. But I think what Gabriel is supposed to represent currently when it comes to his appearance, he is donning the old symbols of pride for at least the Indian and Pakistani Air Force. And his whole thing is wanting to return to a better state, to show that Zepp can be a country that can return to its roots, whatever those roots are. They were made by people who just wanted some security after the literal fallout of technology.
Yeah.
And I think for him to adopt, both military aesthetics and some minor political ones as well, he's fully taking in the reins here. He's like, okay, even though he doesn't, how do I word this? Okay. So even though he may not align with what our countries used to be, he does remember an origin point where we were of revolution. Just like 3 days ago, the 1857 Indian Rebellion occurred. And that was like one of the sticking points where we fought very hard for our freedom, and then we had, factioning outs that really kind of broke everything. Gabriel and Zepp, they are like an extension of that, to me.
Yeah, I really like that you touch on that. I think, to me, that's what it read as, right? Yeah, is that he's reappropriating these symbols not as, like, tools of an oppressive government that are intent on, like, keeping people down, but instead in sort of deference to the people who built that government as a form of, like, cultural pride, where it's not like some kind of fervent nationalism. It's just a recognition of, like, this is where we came from, this is what we built together, these are the ideals that we had, and we can create that thing that we wanted for the people rather than a state that exists to serve itself at the cost of the people. And I think that is really, really super cool. And especially, like you had mentioned, and it was something that I was completely naive to, but I thought was super cool, is the fact that, like, the dress that he has specifically isn't exactly for people who are in active combat, like you were saying. It's kind of more like ritualistic, if I'm understanding correctly.
ceremonial would be the better term. You see it more in marches.
Mhm.
I've seen it more in marches growing up. I remember my dad would really love looking at Pakistani Air Force marches because he wanted to join at some point when he was younger.
Mhm.
Which is how I even got my Gabriel hyperfixation. Shout out to my father there.
Shout out to my dad, yeah.
Shout out to my dad. He's a really cool guy.
Awesome. Yeah. Just touching more on his design and with what you just said, Jay. It's I think it's really interesting. Something I want to point out, because we're talking about how Gabriel takes things out of the mud, right, and really kind of builds things with his own hands and doesn't kind of take handouts or take favors. He doesn't take the easy way. He goes for it himself. And I think what's really indicative of that and kind of interesting is that Gabriel doesn't use a weapon, right? Vernon E. Grubitz uses a weapon, right? Kai and Leo use weapons. I mean, Daryl doesn't, but he doesn't fight.
Daryl has a gun.
Daryl's Glock.
Potemkin has 10 guns on his gauntlets.
Yeah,
he does.
No, but I'm talking about people in that leader status, right? Because I mean, the Potemkin episode will explain this more, but Potemkin is explicitly not a leader, right? He is he's the first mate, right? He's
just as a quick aside, I don't know why, but when you said he's not a leader, that just made me think he's a follower. He's following Gabriel's Twitter account, He's he's liking all of Gabriel's posts. He's like, I am with you all the way, Mr. President.
Oh God, Zepp would have Twitter. Oh no.
Zepp official.
The one place in Guilty Gear with Twitter. A hell place.
No. I feel like Yakko would have Twitter. Anyway. But point is, I think it's really interesting because we don't actually, besides I'm trying to think, besides Giovanna and some other characters, and not even really Giovanna because she has a dog, but we don't see many characters just fist fighting in Gear, and that's part of what I think draws me to Gabriel so much. Just in general from an aesthetic standpoint, because I'm a meathead and that's what I like in a character.
Getting it done with your hands.
Yeah, but I think it's super interesting that Gabriel has that leader status and doesn't kind of crutch on anything for his power, right? He's the most human character in a way, in the fact that he is just human, right? He explicitly doesn't use anything else, and I think that's an interesting part of his design because you could definitely have some super interesting things with him. You could give him any kind of weapon or whatever, but I think
I feel like I should clarify for the people who are not aware of who Gabriel is. Outside of being the person that taught Potemkin the pot buster, he is friends with Slayer and is said to be of equal strength to Slayer, and he's one of the only characters in all of the story to actually hurt Bedman and break the bed frame, which is said to be unbreakable. And just a variety of other things, like the fact that probably Gabriel could have soloed the Crusades if he wanted to, but he was too busy, trying to form democracy, I guess.
Revolution maxing.
Yeah.
No. I'm gonna keep it a stack. If we had the slavery combo during the Crusades, we wouldn't need the Holy Order. Kai'd be out of it.
It's true.
This is the average Scottish and Indian friendship. I hope y'all know it.
Yeah. No. This is I'm gonna talk about this scene a lot probably. But when Gabriel punches a large class gear into the air, Ashura's Wrath style, I think it's kind of safe to say that even in terms of physical strength, I'm not sure even Soul is there. You know what I mean? Soul, obviously he's got his dragon and Soul, he's got the Saint Oratorio, he's got all of his big explosion weapons. He's not beating Gabriel in an arm wrestle.
Let's at his core, Soul is a nerd. He just happens to be very strong.
Yeah. No.
Solar's
I think
literally
power
just playing on
scaling.
God
He's
mode.
like power scaling is definitely within top 10 in the series.
Oh
easily.
yeah, no, like absolutely.
More
easy.
you could definitely discuss, but top 10 is like
Yeah.
Definitely a
No
reason
doubt.
people want him in Strive, and like, and it's not even because of the fact that he's been in the series since Missing Link, just the fact that he has all these feats despite not being playable. It's just kind of fucking insane to me to think about.
a lot of wasted potential for a playable character for sure.
Yeah. No.
Whoa, it's potential, man. 0 feats.
Dude.
Yeah.
Potential.
No, you can use this video as evidence, right?
Yeah.
Like they just put my character back into Tekken. I'm a tried and true Tekken player, and I'm a diehard Tekken player. Gabriel gets into Strive, I will become top 1 Gabriel.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Now.
I don't know about that.
Don't fucking play with me, yo. Like
You heard it here
Beyond
first. Delta is
mortal.
pointing at the fucking stands.
yes.
Oh no.
Place your
You
bets.
may get second, but I
Yeah.
think first might be for me. I'm sorry.
Whatever. I'm free to take first. Whatever.
Real quick, I wanted to say, so Ellie, I know that your connection to Gabriel is because he has such a deep ties to your own like heritage and your own family culture and how that spoke to you. And I know Zelda, you have a deep appreciation for Gabriel because you have a love for Zepp and for Slayer as well, and this like spoke to you and like all the potential that he could have and like his narrative significance and stuff like that. But Gabe, I want to know what was the connection for you and Gabriel? What made you get really into this guy?
So I guess the first kind of background thing is I'm his kind of aesthetic of the strong, well-dressed, just that like regular guy. That's kind of like my thing. Like I would have, if I played Street Fighter, I'd probably play Bison. In Strive, I play Gold Lewis, and I will play Slayer.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
You really like well-dressed guy that is really fucking strong.
Exactly. So that's already kind of my thing. But
wait, hold on. Why do you play Dudley?
Oh, true. Dudley in Third
Oh yeah,
Strike.
Dudley would be right up your alley.
Is that the guy with like the funny mustache?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hugely
that's
trash.
right up my alley. Exactly. So
What do you call this in English? A casket.
A cemetery.
but
Yeah.
it's also so the origin story goes is that I am a gentleman with a reasonable sized sniffer.
Yeah.
Not exactly,
I as
not
well.
a massive nose, which I've come to realize, but it's there, you know, of notable size. So this is something I always used to be very self-conscious as growing up, probably going through high school. I found I was very self-conscious about it. And my friends obviously had to capitalize on that to make fun of me. So
Yeah, as friends are.
as
prone
friends
to do.
are responsible to do. So a bit after they introduced me to Guilty Gear, they were like, "Oh yeah, okay, by the way, there's this character in the game that's literally just like you," and they showed me. And at first I was like, "Oh my god, come on guys, that's not nice. Why are you being mean?" So at first it was a negative experience to start my relationship with Gabriel. But a few days after, I kind of asked them, like, "Okay, who is this guy?" Like I needed to know. At least, like, was he a cool character? And they didn't really know. So I did a little bit of research. There's two places in particular that really started the entrance down the 6 minutes of screen time rabbit hole. And one of them was a Reddit thread, of which the person who wrote it I actually found on Twitter years later. So that was really cool. And there was a YouTube video by some guys. It was just a random gameplay video where they went through the scene where like Gabriel and Slayer beat the shit out of the big gear. So I saw that and I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So I started to, between like getting to know the character more, it kind of correlated with growing out of that insecurity I had of mine, because it was such a cool parallel between this awesome character that I really love and myself. Obviously, after you get over that insecurity, there wasn't much of a parallel other than we have the same name, but it's just kind of a cool thing that I'm not one to associate myself with like a fictional character, but it was just such a cool still parallel that was going on there.
Mhm.
So it's not as much that anymore. Now I just think he's cool as fuck.
Mhm.
But
As it goes, yeah.
that's how it all started, and then the Twitter account came somewhere along. I just randomly tweeted at Arc System Works, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
That's where it all started.
Yeah.
Self-appreciating love for a character is always really nice. Like,
Yes,
the more you
yeah.
love a character, the more you can find, like, hey, love with yourself and stuff like that. It was
I
kind
got-
of like that with me and Delilah, because I also am someone that has, like, a bit of a weird relationship with my family, and I also, like, feel sometimes, like, that kind of demureness where it's like, I'm scared about the big world, but, like, loving Delilah and loving, like, her relationship with Biken and being like, yeah, maybe she has a cool mom and she's, like, happy with that. Like, it's like, I don't have as serious as of issues as Delilah has, but it, like, still makes me happy, you know?
It's
So
kind of
I
it's
do
kind
get
of the
it.
thing where you learn to love a character, and when you can, at least in like some capacity, parallel them with yourself, you can learn to love things that aren't perfect about yourself as well, and that's
Right. Yeah.
that's kind of how you
Honestly-
associate yourself with someone. So
Yeah.
like even just a character in a game, it's awesome.
I think that's why I love Gabriel quite a lot too. Well, I don't really see representations of my culture that much, especially growing up. But the representation that I had was Baljeet.
A
Oh,
little bit lacking.
A little bit lacking. But going from like these nerdy little South Asian boys, these little string beans, like the good girl that's always getting straight A's, to fuck ass
Yeah.
old man who punches gears in the stomach. You
Mhm.
don't get that kind of
Yes.
badass representation about us unless it's from us. Watch Triple R. Please watch Triple R.
Yes.
I've heard
And I think you
Yes.
brought it up to before, too, where it's like, you never get things that are directly Pakistani, and when you do get things that are, like, Indian, it's always just a monk character, like, such as Dalsim, such as, like, other characters. So to go from that to Gabriel is, like, super cool, actually, when you, like, put it that way, you know?
Huge jump. I mean,
Mhm.
Gabriel still has a deep connection with his religion, if you can tell anything by the pot buster. Literally ascends.
Mhm.
And while he is, I would safely say he's a Hindu man, and probably of high caste, seeing that he doesn't have a barcode or anything, there's still a great amount of respect that I have for him, because you often get the Indian mentor character, but in like a very spiritual, esoteric way, like, ooh, let's touch your chakras. I don't fucking know what a chakra is anymore, dog. But Gabriel's just
So-
like,
Having religion,
Go on.
but in the real way, where it's like, how does this help you get through daily life? Like, that's what
Yeah.
all of religion does boil down
Yes.
to in the end.
Yes.
Yes.
And, like,
we're all
and seeing
fools
how
and
he
we know
uses it as
nothing.
like, this is how I lead. It's because I have a faith in something that helps me get through my actual life, where I'm losing faith in people, so I need to like remember the love I have.
No.
That's
No.
cool.
No, this is my thing, right? That's why I'm so happy
Come in.
that the time Gabriel really like gets to shine is during the Ariel's arc, right? Because he's like, "Fuck you, this is real religion."
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
A crazy parallel there.
I was rewatching Gabriel scenes recently, and something I noticed that was really understated is his scene with Chip. And Chip basically calls him out and says, "Oh, you say to people that you're so unaffected by the world and that you're so just isolationist and only focus about Zepp." But the second he had an inkling that like that Miss Catholic, I'm the biggest Catholic in the world, was up to something, he sent all of Zepp's agents to go, like, undercover to spy on her and told no one, because he was still worried about that kind of thing, and he wants to be sure that people follow faith in the way they want to and aren't just being manipulated by people. Like, manipulation is a huge thing for, like, Gabriel. And I think the fact that he saw the honesty in Chip, that's what immediately led him to be like, okay, I need to help this guy out. This is someone I actually respect, that actually isn't just blindly following things. Like, he's critical of, like, Kai for this kind of thing. But and then once he realizes once he realizes that Kai is actually genuine too, he's like, no, I have faith in people again, and that's like so cool how religion was used in that kind of way. I love shit like that so much.
No.
It's so. No,
I'm just gonna add one thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a direct parallel to the role Gabriel had for Chip in Accent Core, where Gabriel's kind of the reason why Chip even pursued a presidency in the Eastern Chip Kingdom. So that's like giving him back.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, Zepp. Go on. I know.
So, I think it's such an interesting parallel, right, between kind of Gabriel's like understanding of like real religion and like the rest of the ways that religion kind of manifests in Gear, right? Because we have Ariel's, we have Kai, who is just straight up Christian, like that's like it's not even like a fake religion or whatever. And then we have what's his face, all of like the kind of cross the cross iconography that you see everywhere else in the series. I think part of kind of my
you got Strive's rocket Buddhas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But no, I think part of the reason that Gabriel is so cool is because he doesn't sort of really adhere to this idea of like let's have like kind of let's have this symbol that we don't really understand but we rally behind, right? Because I mean like it's called the Holy Order, but they're not Christian, right? Like there's all these like instances in the story of people co-opting religion and not really understanding it, and that's part of what I think is so strong about Gabriel's faith, right? And I think it's really interesting. And Ellie, you might crucify me for this. I can understand, but I'm gonna. This might be a reach, but the scene where Gabriel is talking to Chip, right, very closely mirrors that one passage in the Bhagavad Gita, right, where Vishnu is talking to, oh my God, what's his name? Is it Rama? It's just one of these princes, right? And he's trying to like persuade him to do his job, right? And as kind of like a show of force, he assumes the multi-armed form and says, "No, I have become death, the destroyer of worlds." Right?
Classic Oppenheimer. Oh.
No, like I don't want to be like Ray Rottenheimer, right? But like that scene is so closely mirrored for me, right? Because like at one point, like they're gonna fight each other. Like at one point in that conversation, Gabriel is like, "I'm gonna kill you."
You do have a point there. I will say, the Oppenheimer thing was just a joke on my end, but there's a reason why that sticks with us and why it even escaped from our side of the world to yours. The idea of mutual destruction as a guarantee is something I think Gabriel fears the most.
Yeah,
especially as like the one guy who might hold nuclear power still.
Yes. No. Here's my thing, right? Gabriel does not have nuclear power. He is the nuke. He knows what he's capable of. This is the problem.
I could destroy all of you with just my fingertips.
Right, but he won't because yeah, I think so. I think Gabriel as a diplomat is kind of something that I want to get back to later. But I think what's super kind of conclusive and tying together about his character and what his idea of religion is like he's not like I mean obviously there's no like kind of phobia or whatever in Guilty Gear, but he's not like kind of bigoted towards anyone's like choice of religion or whatever. He's just careful, and I think part of what that is his understanding of freedom, right?
Yeah.
Because he knows that religion is a tool to control people, and all he wants to do is make sure that people are free, right?
I'd say more than anything too, he's very like considerate and also more than anything patient. Like he spent a long time preparing his revolution against Zepp. And Zepp is a nation that with 100 years of discrimination behind it, and he knew he couldn't just go rushing into this. And it took him finding the perfect candidate for this revolution, someone that similarly felt as disimpassioned as he was and actually had hope for the future. And like that's why he like built up that like father-son relationship with Potemkin.
His
and
genetically modified son,
yeah. Sorry, I just landed a pop buster and I felt so cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's his face? Yeah, but I think I do kind of want to. This is gonna be me being selfish for a little bit, but if we could talk about Gabriel and his relationship with freedom for a second, that's like my favorite part of them.
Please.
Yes. Okay. So I wanted to kind of find a way to segue. So I think Gabriel's idea of personal freedom is so interesting, right? Because on the one hand, there's the literal sense of being delivered from bondage, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's very much so a god of Exodus, right? He has led the Hebrews out of Egypt and slavery and all these things, and he has used the power vested in him to kind of secure freedom for him and his people, right? But it's really interesting because like beyond that, he talks about freedom in a way of freedom from yourself, right? Because I think this is something that he kind of struggles with because it's all he talks about. But he has this really interesting idea of not losing to yourself. And there's this one quote in excerpt talking to Potemkin. Potemkin just suffered a defeat, and he says, "Potemkin, my child, a warrior who loses a match is second rate, but one who loses to himself is third. But a first-rate soldier has experienced both, right?" Mm-hmm. And I think that there's this idea of like kind of being defeatist in a way of not giving it your all and not even trying to go up against like the odds, no matter how insurmountable they may seem, right? Because Gabriel, as I said, by all means should not have won versus Zepp, right? He's just a hunk of meat with a fist, right? But like and he overthrew an entire empire, right? Because he's the GOAT. Like let's be
he's
honest.
that guy.
He's him. But it's it's sort of this idea that you can't defeat yourself before you even try, and you can't be victim to guilt and shame and these kind of ideas that make you weak, right? Before you've been convinced of that, right? Because the fact of the matter is no one is weak. If anyone is weak, it should be Gabriel, because he's just a guy. Like I can't stress this enough. He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
He's a bleeding heart with two fists.
He helps Potemkin a lot through his own weakness too, because Potemkin is a character that will do the right thing and will follow the right people, but is someone that constantly asks, am I doing the right thing? I don't know if I have hope, if anything I'm doing is actually going to have lasting consequences. And I think it's so important to have Gabriel there as a constant standing figure of, no, what I'm doing is right, what I'm doing will make a change. If I just keep sticking with it, I will have to hope that in future generations things will be okay.
No,
and I Gabriel is a good job of showing that.
And Gabriel is talking to himself, right? When he's talking to himself. Because I know that like deep down he still struggles with the idea of like is he doing enough? Is he a good enough leader? Is he this, that, and everything? Right? But I don't know when he's talking to Potemkin, because he can't like say it to himself. He can say it to his son, and that makes him feel better. But I think that's why I think he's so kind of exemplary of these fundamental concepts in Gear, right? This personal freedom, and he's a very interesting kind of look at it, right? Because the quote unquote like freest character in Guilty Gear is Soul, right? He's got free written right above his cojones, right? Like he knows it. But the difference between Soul and Gabriel is that Soul is protected by freedom, but Gabriel protects freedom, right? And I think that that's such an important dichotomy when you consider Gabriel as a kind of constant liberator rather than a guy who just did one thing once and now he's chilling. No, he's still doing it.
Even when he passes, he'll be used as a symbol, whether he likes it or not. He has a whole reputation to think about.
What I want, right? Maybe not what I want, right? Because he should live forever. But hypothetically, in the next Guilty Gear game, depending on how far in the future it takes place, Gabriel should not be around, right? But the new symbol of Zepp should be changed to a fist. That's my thing. That's
that genuinely is really poignant and cool.
Right? Like, no, I feel like we need like I don't know, Potemkin. Give Potemkin a fireball, please. Give him
what do you mean? You get your projectile super, isn't that enough?
No, it's not.
Yeah, the reflector.
If I may, I kind of want to. So you mentioned something that I think is so important to just this character and just everything about him, and it's that idea that he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's just like you have other human-esque characters like Potemkin. He's a big guy, and like Soul is Soul is still human in a way, but like human form, but he's got like.
I would say that Potemkin is like really cool in comparison to Gabriel, because Potemkin is like the most superpowered a regular human can be, because he is just a guy with advanced technology and has been loaded up with as much muscle as possible, which then, as you're, I guess, building into, is the fact that Gabriel is not that. He is just a guy who is trained.
Exactly. He's just a really strong guy in comparison to, all these, like, you got sword fighters and whatever. He's just a guy, and he punches, and I think that's such a... It's such like almost a contrast to a lot of the other characters. I think you mentioned this as well, that it's a very sharp contrast to a lot of the other characters. And that's just... He has no appeal, that he's so like normal and like he's such a banal figure in a way, but at the same time that is his it's different somehow.
Yeah. That's what makes him stand out. Absolutely.
It's not like Daryl, where this is a normal guy and he's also a normal guy. No, Gabriel is a normal man, and that is exactly his strength.
That is him. Yeah.
He's like a normal revolutionary to me. Just growing up, you see revolutions happen in your lifetime, and right now, I used to like go to Pakistan every year for a few months, live there for a little bit. So, you get to see how things go. And every so often, you just meet someone who's tired. You meet someone who's exhausted, who wants it to end, but they don't have the power to make it end. I think Gabriel's like the one person who had enough power to make it end, even though he's just someone who wants to rest. He will never rest. That's a little sad to me.
Yeah. It's forgive me for brain rotting, but there's actually a dynamic in One Piece between two minor characters that I think exemplifies this really well. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, in the Dressrosa arc, there's these two brothers. I believe they're called the Bloody Cool Brothers, but one of them has the jacket fruit, right? And what that power is to make someone else wear him, and he can control their body, right? But his brother, right, doesn't have like any kind of magic power, but he's really big and really strong. Problem is, he's super timid. So we have this super aggressive little guy who can like kind of control people and spur them to action. And then we have this big guy who doesn't really want to fight, but he has the power.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's really. I mean, because like it doesn't work quite as well because Gabriel is stronger than Potemkin, but it's I think it's really interesting to kind of have the idea that Potemkin would not be a fighter were it not for Gabriel, right? I
100%.
think the phrase that I really like to use for their dynamic is it's better to have a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Right, because Potemkin is the gardener in the war. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, as much as he is a big, strong man that can kill you with his finger, he doesn't want to. He would much rather paint and sip tea. But Gabriel, regardless or not of whether he like wants to fight, he's gotten past it. He's like, damn, is there some ass that needs whooping? Like,
like he's always tending
give
to
it
that
here.
piece.
Yeah, it's like I think that's why it's so awesome to me that Gabriel takes such an interest in Potemkin's art and his love of nature and stuff like that.
Yes,
Because at the same time, although Potemkin is the gardener in the war, he's giving Gabriel his garden.
Yes.
Well
like
said.
he recognizes the value of that, and that's think it's been coming up constantly in our discussion of the characters. The value he places on personal freedom and culture.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to talk more on that, but I just wanted to circle back on a thing that both you, Zelda, and you, Gabe, kind of touched on, is the notion that like kind of Soul's freedom was bestowed unto him by his lineage as a gear, whereas like Gabriel, like you're both saying, is just some guy, right? He doesn't have any unique lineage. He isn't bestowed with any godlike power, and I think uniquely out of many of the characters in the setting, does not engage with like the fundamental power system of magic whatsoever, right? He has a unique perspective
He's
of
outside
being
the rules.
a guy.
He might.
Right?
He might.
Outside the rules by playing by them, when you think about it, which is kind of funny.
I would like to think he has ki, because if ki is like an origin point of quote-unquote Eastern religions, which India has had a huge hand in, Gabriel, as someone who's very grounded in his faith, having like a shit ton of ki just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It could be. It honestly very well could be.
Yeah, I think
Bro was
that's
like
what
60
Agni
or
is,
70,
right?
I'm guessing. And he looks young as shit. That's all I'm
That
guessing.
is true. That is true.
The biggest issue with that is it just comes down to a lack of development of the character, which is a shame. Like I remember a while ago I was just looking at the wiki, and they tried to explain like the Agni fists, and no one knows, right? No one knows that. No one knows why he's just super fuck off strong.
Yeah.
It could be magic, but Zepp doesn't have magic. It could be tech. It's a possibility. It's a very unexplored area of his origin. Well, not his origins. We know his origin, but like the origin of his strength, right?
Yeah. No, I'm gonna be real.
Actually, no, you talk first.
No, it would be super in character, right? If like I like it's possible it could be key, right? But I think it would be super in character if it was just like he's shooting like when he punches, he's punching with so much force that it shoots forward compressed air that just kills you. Right?
That's very in character. It's just he's punching so hard.
Yeah, but then we come to the idea of like Agni X, right? Because he's not punching in every direction when he does that. So I think my personal idea with that is like I know, again, Ellie, we talked about this. It does kind of give Mobiarm form to me, right? Because he's kind of like extending outward in this kind of all-powerful omnidirectional attack. But I think it would be really funny if Agni X was just him like concentrating his fight. Like, it's not ki, it's explicitly something different. It's just like fighting spirit, right? It's like he is so strong that he's done so much that he's tapped into a source of magic that nobody else has. Right?
That would be very cool, but at the same time, I want what happens a lot with like games that have like a global scope. They will create a magic system, especially for just like East Asia. Say it's from the faith, and then completely ignore
natural
where it came
spirit magic kind of stuff.
No. I was
Yeah.
I was kind of really mad when Berserk did that.
Yeah.
Because you would think East Asian author. Anyway, but yeah, I totally get what you mean. At the same time, I think it could be either, and that's why I said, you know, like we
Bro just unlocked a new level to me. That's like
yeah.
He's just that strong.
Yeah, he's just on another level. He just said,
because he also like ties into emotional instability, which he is certainly not. At least not outwardly.
No. I think and this is what I was talking about. I think he's super insecure. Right? I think part of the reason
I think a lot of Gabriel is that he's like kind of stone-faced, but he's constantly contemplating and got things on his mind. It's just he tries very much not to let it show because it's the fatherhood thing of I can't burden my kids by seeing me like this.
Yeah, right. It's what's his face? I think it's just this kind of interesting back and forth between, you know, he's a stone-faced badass, but on the inside, he needs a hug like badly.
Yeah.
Just needs a hug, man.
Yeah, like he has been thugging it out for too long.
Yeah, I think that's also part of what you were talking about earlier, where it's like this idea that he's really intent on leading, and specifically leading by example, by being that man of the people. You know, like when he's fighting, he's getting in there personally, and he's bringing the fight to people because, and it's again, it's motivated by that genuine deep passion for where he comes from and the people he's protecting and the country that he fought and like, you know, shed his own blood, sweat, and tears to build. Like all of it is just belying like such a true, genuine tenderness that he feels he's not allowed to express fully because of what he has to represent for a people who are still kind of holding a tenuous grasp on their like sovereignty in the face of a world that's like looking at them in a not so great light.
No, what we need is like a scene where Gabriel is like addressing the people and like he starts crying or something.
Yes,
that's a single tear.
Yes,
single tear.
Single tear. Yes.
I feel like that would be a really good time to bring up the fact too with respect to Gabriel and like his things of fatherhood being really strong, and also like the guilt that he holds, his relationship with Slayer and how he's put on an equal level to Slayer, and like how they're kind of foils too, because Slayer is also a father figure that has to stand tall, but also feels kind of unaffected by the world. And Zell, I know you had a lot to say about the relationship between Gabriel and Slayer. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So on the one hand, there's the bit of like it being yaoi bait, right? Like Slayer, all that. But and not to say that I'm not a fan of it, but for the sake of our discussion, I think the idea that I kind of like to assign to Gabriel and Slayer is that Slayer is the idealist, but Gabriel's the realist, right?
Oh
and they're both, the
yaoi quote. You can't bring the idealist up with the yaoi quote.
Everything is inherently yaoi if you think about it.
Now, for context, in Bedman Cedar of Pain Instant Kill, Slayer has one piece of dialogue, which is, "We could have fought side by side, but I fear that wouldn't save you."
Yeah. No. Like I know he's talking about Bedman when he says that, right? But he's talking to Bedman, but he's speaking to Gabriel, baby.
I know you guys said we shouldn't go too into the yaoi core, but can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I think it's very cool that they both act like they don't actually care about each other, even though they mean the most to each other out of anyone.
So baby girl, oh my god. No, so we were talking about this in the first recording, and I will spare the listeners of it this time. But the slavery of Shannon Polly, right, is such an interesting idea to me, right? Because we have the realist, the idealist, and then the elements, right? Where both of these figures are Guilty Gear striving towards this common goal, right, of providing a better life for their children, right?
Mhm.
And you know, Slayer has his own shit going on. You know, with the Assassin's Guild, and they're all, you know, with their own problems and stuff like that. But I think where Sharon plays into this, right, is that she kind of represents like a resting point, right, for these two characters, provided they are in the polycule and headcanon coping hard here. But it's kind of interesting, the idea that Slayer like definitively has this resting point and Gabriel doesn't in the same sense.
Yeah.
It's I think it's really interesting that they both are going for like this better life for their kids. They both have like crazy dad lore or whatever, right? And they're both kind of taking solace in something, but Slayer has this like other part of the equation. I think what it might be for Slayer is just like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the vampire's wife has been kind of a trope. But so like I don't want to reduce Sharon to a trope because she's like a full character, obviously, but no, I think that kind of back and forth that they have between them is super cool, because Slayer kind of like both in the way that he fights and kind of in his manner is much more cartoonish than Gabriel is. Whereas Slayer is tweaking, Gabriel is locked in. Right.
It gives Gabriel someone to actually play off of a little bit, you know?
No. They would be the best comedy duo, because Slayer's the goof and Gabriel's the straight man, you know?
I wanted to mention, too, the fact that, as of the recording, we are 2 weeks away from Slayer being dropped into, Strive, and we have no idea how Slayer's arcade mode is going to go, so it could mean a lot more for Shadow, which I think it will, but also I think Gabriel might get a mention in here, because obviously they have
100%. 100%, please.
The fact that Slayer has a lot of ground travel shit going on right now, Amberfest, the fact that he's wearing like a conductor's uniform, his theme Ups and Downs is a lot of references to, you know, trains. They're the trains and planes couple. Trains and planes. They're both in uniform.
He's
fucking adopted an aesthetic, bro.
You throw in Johnny, and then we have C in the air.
No. And Johnny stole the sea and air from Gabriel. So like, what is it anyway? No, like if Slayer's theme is ups and downs, I desperately need Gabriel's to be lefts and rights. Like, come on.
Or highs and lows. That would be.
Highs and lows would work. The reason I'm saying lefts and rights is because like a left and then a right is like
left
a
and
1-2
right
combo,
punch.
right? Like yeah. No, I need Gabriel to be the coolest character in a fighting game ever. He will be regardless. I don't care if he plays totally opposite to how I play characters. I will be the best Gabriel of all time.
Speaking of which,
we'll talk about that.
Yeah. We gonna talk about that.
We'll see how that goes.
I was gonna ask you about the fighting styles, because you were like very passionate about it last recording.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
I love hearing people talk about it.
Ooh, yes. Okay, so hello gang, bit of background on me. If you don't know who I am, you're not one of like the 3 people that I talk to that would also be listening to this. So I have been in martial arts, in like, you know, combat and fighting for about 13 years. So I'm super autistic about it. I have a lot of experience in karate, boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, all of these things, right? And I think I mean first off, it plays into why I like him so much, but we can get to that later. But I did design an entire moveset for him. Gabe knows this. But
I have seen this.
Yes. So I think it would be a really interesting idea for Gabriel's moveset, if we could blend his cultural martial art of kushti, right, which is wrestling from India, and karate, right, because he like when he's doing his agni, like that's like let's be real for a second. That's not just him punching someone. That's a seiken, right? That's a very defined like karate man punch. So what this is just more speculation. I'm just having fun now. But what I think would be cool for Gabriel is if he was a stance character, right? So he has a couple of stances, some with armor, some not, that he can transfer between, and they're both like approach options and defense options that they can mix up in utility and stuff like that. So he has his zoning options with his Agni fireballs and stuff like that. But what I think would be really cool is if he is a strike throw character, don't give him Potbuster.
Yeah.
Right? Because
let it be that he taught Gabriel Potbuster, but he doesn't have it himself.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I feel like it doesn't really fit as much for his character. But I think part of the reason that it works for Potemkin is because, like, this is going to be more about their character, right? Like Gabriel obviously like can do that, like it's well within his limitations, right? But Potemkin explicitly is tackling bigger foes than Gabriel is, right? Like, I mean, obviously, he can like punch a large class ear into this guy, but I think it's more kind of metaphorical for the sense of Potemkin has the body to grapple with the things that Gabriel doesn't.
Yeah.
But no, I got like music references and all these things for his moves, but like I think his command grab should be called the Deadly Fist. I think he should have a stance called the Iron Man. I think like he very a lot of stomps, a lot of wide stances, a lot of kind of not stiff, but very like blocky, defined movement, right? And maybe I was thinking like a parry that like leaves them both at 0 because it's like diplomacy, you know what I mean? We're just like being respectful, just like step off, but I think giving him that kind of mix between kushti and karate would be super duper interesting. Also,
I can like see it. I can picture it when you talk about it. It's so cool.
No, and like I know Ipauga on Twitter was working on something for that, but
he looks at Kushi and Milani for that praying.
Yeah, no. What I need is like for one of his moves, like give him Bandit Bringer, but there's this or something like Bandit Bringer, but there's this one move in Kabaddi, right, which where you kind of jump up and lift a knee into the air, then come down and like either punch or slap someone, right? Like I need him to have these moves. I need him to have like. Could you imagine if we got like a Strive character with chain grabs? Like,
yeah, no, I would love to see that. It's so classic fighting games.
Yeah, no, like let's make Gabriel a second character. Let's give him 3D movement. But no, like I definitely want very very like blocky, very upright, like defined movement.
I like how he does when he like runs to Bedman, that little bounce back.
No, so that's what I was thinking. So instead of Hammerfall, he has that, right? And it's called On the Scene, right? So what it is it's a stance that cancels either into that jumping running punch that I was talking about, or if you just let it go through, that little feet slide on the ground turns into a low, right? And then you can also break it and then hit him with a command grab a la Potbuster. But no, what I want his command grab to be, what I want the Deadly Fist to be, he just grabs his opponent by the collar, throws them to the ground, and punches directly downward and like cracks the ground or something like that.
It's like Johnny but hotter, man.
Yeah, I think no, he should I think he should have a reversal super being Agni X, and then his like ultimate Omega super should be called like the Liberator or something, or like Ultra Dreadnought class. And my envisioning is like he leaps into the air a la Heavenly, but instead of a throw, it's a strike, and he punches the opponent super high into the sky, throws an Agni upwards, jumps up, grabs the opponent, and then slams them slams them like into his fist coming down. I think that would
Yeah,
be cool.
yeah.
But no, because like we need like really like defined poses for him, because like his whole thing is like the pose.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think
yeah.
that is what I really enjoy about this move list that you've created for him, is that it's so true to the character as he exists that we've seen in Exerd. The fact that like, yeah, all of his movements do really seem to fall in line with both Kushti and karate as things that like really heavily prioritize that efficiency of movement and like those really precise strikes that deliver so much force. It is, I think, really cool, and I think something that's sorely missing from Gear, because like while we have like kind of the goofy boxer and Slayer, I think a more grounded type strike character in Gabriel would be
no
really
like I don't want him to have pile bunker. What I want him to have is his what's his face, his stance Iron Man. You can either press forward or backwards out of it, and he'll sway forwards or backwards into a stance called mutually assured destruction.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Right. So what the stance does, right, is it doesn't give him like the stance itself doesn't have armor, but it gives him a power crush, right? So he still takes the damage, right? But he deals his counter hit as well.
Yeah.
And so that's like his big like tile bunker thing. It's not completely, like super quick and invuln like Slayer's is. But I think it'd be kind of cool. And then you could either strike or throw out of that or something. I think that would be cool.
Part of how I always pictured him, little Tekken reference here, at least what I've heard of Tekken, is from Tekken 7 you have regular King and Armored King, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the way it was described to me is King is grab first, strike second. Armor King is kind of the opposite.
Right.
Where he's a bit more strike oriented, but he has grabs. And that's always how I've pictured Gabriel compared to Potemkin.
Yes.
Where he'll definitely have grabs in his kit, and he'll be considered a grappler, but still more strike-oriented, like combo-based still as well, right?
Yeah. So the characters that I play in Tekken are Claudio, Lydia, and Armor King, right? So
hey, you must be happy you got Lydia back.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So I think what's super kind of cool about their respective move lists, right, is that you have one character with like a really kind of dominant offensive strike throw pressure, right, being Armor King. And then you have a character with a really linear but really oppressive offensive pressure, being Claudio, and then you have a character that can do not to the same degree as both, but she has both, right?
Both types of options.
Being Lydia, and that's what I feel like I kind of want Gabriel to be, right? As in Slayer is like the full striker, Potemkin's like the full grappler, and Gabriel has
somewhere
like a little
exactly.
What Guilty Gear doesn't have, right? Because we have one grappler, is the archetype of like the fast grappler character. Like we don't have an El Fuerte, we don't have an Alex, we don't have I'm trying to think. I don't know. We don't have Armor King. We don't have any of these guys who are not coming to mind right now. Or like a Coma in Melting Blood or whatever. like we don't have that kind of archetype, and I think Gabriel would fit that perfectly, right? So he has the Deadly Fist being his primary command grab, and then in place of Heat Knuckle, his anti-air command grab is just called what's his face, Imprison, and it's Heat Knuckle if it was good again. Mm-hmm. So what made Heat Knuckle good back in the day, right, was the fact that you could either extend it for like more damage, or you could just not do that, and you would get, like, the opponent would get dropped in front of you, and you could do Oki, and that's what made it potent, right? But now even in Exert, if you don't extend it, they still get blasted far away from you. So I think an anti-air command grab where they just get dropped in front of you would be awesome. That'd be so great. That'd be really cool.
If I could draw another comparison, sorry to jump in here. Yeah. For anyone who's had experience with fighters, I kind of see it like an Android 16 kind of scenario where he has grabs built into his kit, and he kind of, like, they're not just like one-off grabs that, like, you know, and then you're back in neutral. They're almost like built into combos. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah. That'd be so sick.
No, what I think might be cool is, like, if we give him like a combo tool hit grab that all splats, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, what I'm thinking, right, is like, well, the name that I came up for it was Black Sabbath, right? Mm-hmm. But what it would be is he either grabs the opponent either in like a bear hug, or just like grabs the collar or something. He kind of does this kind of big brawler kick where he like stomps forward and knocks them to the ground, and then he scrapes his fist along the ground.
Yeah.
Like blast them into the wall. That's what I'm thinking. If any of y'all have seen Terry's climax in KOF 15, it's like
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Anyway,
very, very topical.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, kind of getting back into the lore, I wanted to take a moment to just sort of circle back a ways, and I know we spoke kind of more explicitly about how and why Gabe hopped on to liking Gabriel, but I was wondering if Ellie, you could go into more detail as to like how you found out about Gabriel in the first place, and like what about him specifically drew you in.
Ooh, so Shine, I was like, okay, so this guy's just a dude. Why is he dressed like that? Why is his nose like that? I was a little weirded out at first. It didn't even hit me that he might have been Daisy, which is I think it was Revelator that really hit for me, because, you know, you have all these Gabriel scenes and they just work. They work really well. I mean, sure, Shine, he had his Bedman fight, which that did stick with me. I'm like, okay, he's cool. But then when I circled back to GG World and started looking into stuff about Zepp, because I guess he stuck with me for a little bit, because he looked familiar. As I told y'all before, I grew up with a dad who really wanted to be in the Air Force, which he never made it. So that's where it stuck with me. But when I looked into Zepp, I was like, shit, it's Indian. Shit, Potemkin. Why do they have these white-ass names? So then I started to get really
Unfortunately,
into it.
metal bands.
Alas. But I think what stuck with me about Gabriel was the amount of research I could do. The amount of research that people probably weren't doing. Because, no shade to any analysts out there, including everyone here, but there's a misperspective when it comes to Zepp, because there's not that many Daisy people in the Guilty Gear community compared to like other fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter, where it's like very huge how Pakistani and Indian subgroups fit in there. South Asia's not even listed as a region you can play in. But what really stuck with me about Gabriel was the amount of things I could teach about my culture through him. Like the uniform thing, or the fact that Zepp stages. Let me get my little document out. So a lot of the background artwork for Zepp that we see takes from Punjabi and Rajasthani architectural styles, like There's this specific art of Gabriel and Potemkin with like other ex-slaves in the background, and it's like very Rajasthani, has a Haveli in the background, just like kind of posh architecture, like balcony style.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the, I think it was either X or XX stages, had the Gurudwara domes, which is extremely Punjabi. But being able to recognize these things, like in hindsight, and the uniforms and just everything, even the little symbol that Gabriel adopts, I'm not sure if y'all noticed, but Excerpt was like a huge changing point for Gabriel. Design, character, everything. But Zepp had a very generic symbol at first. Very generic.
Yeah, it did.
Which was just the little wings and like, I guess a little shield. But by Excerpt, you have a more specified reference to the Garud Commando Forces, which is a specialty units force in the Indian Air Force, but also the not Pakistani. So the Z. Why did I say Pakistan? That does not. Okay. There is that Z at the center of the Zepp symbol, which we have to address. I do think it ties into what Gabriel stands for, but during the Romani Holocaust, during internment, Romanis that had serial numbers with them, tattooed onto them, they were also marked with a Z, which stems from a slur that I will not say because I am not Romani, though the Romani are of Punjabi origin. So they are a South Asian diaspora. But the fact that Gabriel adopts the Z so openly in the country that has just suffered from 170 years of slavery, and the fact that there's all these Punjabi elements to Zepp, I do think it's like a nice point of solidarity to both acknowledge the Romani Holocaust and just tying it in with every other cultural aspect of Zepp.
Yeah.
It's something that goes unnoticed, really. I think that's what sums it up, that Zepp is so unnoticed in how detailed everything is towards our culture that I wonder if anyone else has picked up on it, and it makes me a little sad.
Well, it gives you a learning opportunity. Like you said, it's not something as widely known as something like European history with like Kai and Leo and everything with them, which is, it sucks that it's not the case. But I think that's why it's so cool that you can even have this like jumping off point, this diving board with like Gabriel at the very least, you know?
Yeah, it harkens back to a few of the things that we were talking about on the first recording of the podcast that I think Ellie had brought up, where it's like, you know, in Guilty Gear we have representations for a lot of like, you know, historical and religious like European pastiche elements, with Illyria being like a combination of French and Spain and Britain, obviously. And so like, you know, you have those elements of Christianity there. So it's really compelling, albeit not perfect, when we see elements of like Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam represented through Gabriel and Pot. But yeah, it's like, it's a little bit disappointing that they don't perfectly seize on that potential, even though it is there, and it does create that opportunity for people to get engaged with culture and learn about something that they otherwise wouldn't have. Because I'll say, like, definitely full disclosure, like, this was absolutely my first introduction to any of those historical elements that you had brought up, Ellie. Like, my time on this podcast, I feel like, has been so elucidating purely because of that, and I really appreciate you coming in with that perspective, because it's like that enriched my life. Like, I learned an important thing about the world because of you and because of Gear.
Well, it's just part of being part of an underrepresented group of people, I'd say. South Asians don't have much representation as it is, so if I can like teach people a little, even though my job is not to teach, I will say that. I'm doing this out of
and it shouldn't
passion.
be your job, you know, but I'm thankful that you do at the very least. As small as it may be for a video game character. But...
Honestly, Potemkin has way more going on. If I come back, I hope I come back for Potemkin, because that'd be very fun. But if you look at Potemkin's missing link drafts, there was no intention of being Indian at first. He was supposed to be Russian. He was based off of the certain espionage incident with Robert Hansen. So Daisuke is suddenly adopting like Indian cultural aesthetics. I don't know why he did that, but I'm very thankful that he did.
Yeah.
I guess
Glad it
he
changed from
realized-
something very generic to something completely unique too, where now we have this mixture of Russia, German, Indian, Pakistani. Like it's like, what's it called? Not homogenous. No, what's the
Hodgepodge.
You could just say
Hodgepodge,
melting
thank you.
pot, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will say I don't see much of the German stuff at all, besides like people reducing it down to like basic military aesthetics, and unfortunately,
Oh,
watering
it's Potemkin's helmet.
I was gonna say it's
Potemkin's
Potemkin's
helmet.
little helmet for sure.
Mm.
Ooh. I will
No,
say
no,
I'm
but-
not
but-
very
Oh, but
knowledgeable
I-
on German stuff, so
Oh, I was gonna say though. Ironically, that little spike on the top of the helmet was originally present in Islamic soldier outfits.
Mm. Mm.
There you go.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
I think it's just an association that people have. I think
Yeah.
of that little spike on the helmet.
Yeah.
So that's probably where that association comes from.
Yep.
Say I am a Pakistani Muslim, fourth-gen Muslim, so I am also like a little divorced from Hinduism and the Indian identity. My family was actually part of the independence movement for Pakistan. There's some shit with that.
Oh.
Even
Mhm.
helped with the League of Nations being started.
wow.
It's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at Zepp, there's not much I can connect to on my first-hand basis, but on an ancestral basis, I would like to think there's some connection there.
Yeah.
Gabriel's name, I wish it was Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel
Gabriel.
Gabriel is like,
Has anyone said Gabriel's name out loud? I guess no. Never mind. Potemkin
Potemkin
has
has,
literally said
yeah.
President
Yeah.
Gabriel,
Yes.
right? Damn it! I was gonna say they could retcon it into Jabril then.
I hope he just like does it so people can say it differently. Lots of us just adopt very English names for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just an Asian thing in general.
Mhm.
But for Gabriel and Potemkin, I sorely wish that they had like proper names. We have
Yeah.
battleships, we have our own names for the archangels.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little disappointing that we don't have cultural names for them because that's really what limits people from going, oh, these are like Indian characters.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they lean towards the European side of things because they have European names, which
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone for. And Potemkin is like very ethnically, visibly Indian, but Gabriel is not. There
Yeah.
might be a reason for that because I guess just higher associations with, got paler skin, you might be from up north. It depends. Like northern Pakistanis and Indians look completely different from us in the south, but I am from the
Yeah.
south. It really is just a hodgepodge of
Mm.
everything you can think of, but I'm very glad that I have Gabriel. I'm very glad that Gabriel also gives me something to talk about with my father.
Mm-hmm.
I love my
Aw.
dad so much.
Yeah. No, I
Even
think
though-
that's awesome.
He came here like 50 years ago, and he had a loss of culture, so getting to connect with my culture through a game and getting to reconnect with him on it is like, I'd say it's magical.
No, that's really awesome.
Awesome.
Genuinely,
Yeah,
I feel like
that's-
that is
that's-
what Guilty Gear is all
that's so
about.
sick.
Gabriel Guilty Gear being the perfect father in the series and out of the series.
It does remind me of my dad. My dad's very stalwart.
On the subject of
Go.
parent-child relationships, though, I think this would also be kind of like a good opportunity to talk a little bit more in detail about Gabriel's relationship with Potemkin. And I know we kind of touched on it already with regards to Gabriel really valuing Potemkin's sort of appreciation of the arts and his innate gentleness. But I'd love it if you, Ellie, Zelda, and Gabriel had specific things that you wanted to say about how you viewed his relationship with Potemkin and what that says about both of them as characters.
Ah, yes. And now we come to me being self-indulgent again. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get into a little bit of why I like Gabriel so much. So,
Mhm.
as I previously explained, I've been in combat sports for a long time. And I was in high school having a particularly difficult stint in my wrestling career. I was really down in the dumps. I was really depressed about it. And I remember I was watching the Excerpt story, and I saw that quote of, Potemkin, my child, warrior who loses to an opponent as second rate, but a warrior who loses to himself as third, all that, right? And that spoke to me so hard, right? Because
Mhm.
my own father was not able to tell me that, right? and this is gonna sound so insane, but Gabriel kind of stepped in where my biological dad didn't.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of resonated with him in the sense of that kind of sentiment of freedom, of being, like, you are in this situation, but you have the free will to get yourself out of here, right? Like, you can always fight. You know what I mean? I think that's what his character really says well, and that whole sentiment of you can take off the bomb collar, it won't explode, you are free, right? Is really what what speaks to me about his character. So he definitely stepped in where my own dad didn't, and that's part of the reason why I fuck with him so heavy as a character. But in terms of him as a father to Potemkin, and I know, Gabe, you are not much of a kitty. I am very much so a Potemkin kitty.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Aww.
But what's his face? So in terms of that, right? He I think there's both like a genuine, like, parent-child, like, love there, right? Like, obviously, but then I think there's a lot of grief on Gabriel's side, right? Because he feels very guilty that he wasn't able to give Potemkin the childhood that he deserves, right? Which is why I think he's so nurturing of his inner child now, right? Which is part of the reason that Potemkin's moveset looks the way it does, right? Because on the one hand, he's a big, strong, scary man, and he can kill you with a flick. But also, like, if you look at him, his movements are very, like, childish in a way, right? Like,
yeah, they're a little bit more exaggerated compared to Gabriel's, like, more precise movements.
It almost seems like he doesn't know what he's doing, like, almost, right? It's it's very kind of cartoonish in a way that Slayers isn't, but it's I think it's because Gabriel is so nurturing of Potemkin's inner childhood, because he feels bad about not being able to give Potemkin the childhood he deserved, right? That there's so much grief going on in that relationship. But yeah, I think he's definitely, like, a very, like, loving, caring father, but he's like constantly beating himself up over what he wasn't able to give to his son,
He couldn't give him the freedom that he deserved when he was younger, which really does
Right.
hit home. I mean, my own mother was a child slave when she was in Pakistan, so
Mhm.
it affects a person throughout their life.
Oh yeah.
And
Of course.
not being able to control someone's safety, especially when you love them or you're in a position that you could have helped them, because, he lacks the barcode. Every other
Yeah.
soldier he works with has barcodes on them. He doesn't.
Mhm.
He might have been part of the aristocracy for all we know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guilt there that you just can't change the past, even though
Yeah.
you deserve something better.
Yeah. No. I said this last podcast too, but I think a saying that really applies to him is you don't have to be from the mud to get dirty, right? And I think that's kind of his whole thing, right? Like, he might not have been from the same circumstances as his kids or whatever, as his soldiers, but he's so committed to their cause, and he's so dedicated to, like, protecting them, that there's, like, nothing he won't do.
Yeah, I think in his gentleness towards Pot too, that there is also, like, a mourning for the childhood and the freedom that he himself kind of lost.
Oh, you're so right. He's trying
yeah.
I gotta say too, like, I think it also helps that Pot has that childishness about him, because Gabriel has a very childish dream when you come down to it. He walks up to one soldier, a singular soldier, and says, I want to change the country. I want to be president. It literally is what Chip does, but Pot believes in that because it's the most genuine thing he's heard an entire nation of people that have abused him.
Right.
And I think, like, there's something to that purity that they both have.
Yeah, and we were talking about this last time too, how Chip is kind of a younger version of Gabriel.
Yes.
He really is.
Yeah. Where it's like, for as much as Gabriel has a lot to teach Chip in a way. There's also a lot that Chip can teach Gabriel in the way that like Gabriel is trying to instruct Chip on what it means to be the leader of a nation in the sense of a way that you have to carry yourself, the specific things that you have to do. But then Chip is there kind of reminding him like at the end of the day you're also still a human being with dreams, and that it's important to respect yourself as a person, that you're not just a tool of the state, even if it is in doing something important and good, that it's has to be driven by a real love and passion for your people.
Right.
I think another really kind of neat thing, though, is, and I think we spoke about this a little bit on the previous podcast, is Gabriel's relationship with Johnny. Unless people had more to say about his relationship with Chip or Pop.
Yeah. I am like, oh god. I run Daily Johnny. Hi.
Yeah.
I guess looking at Johnny and Gabriel side by side, they both have like this head of the household, very strong posturing. They will act like they have everything together, and then they will look at their child and go, man, I really hope this doesn't fuck up in the future.
Man, I hope I'm giving the right lessons here.
Where Johnny tries to posture himself as like a hero, like the definition of a hero, the fact that he's friends with Gabriel, who is more of an earnest, I'd say, the type of hero you'd hear about in a history book versus the type of hero you hear about in a folk story. They're both very different definitions of what it means to like change the world. Johnny still retains his selfishness, and you can see that with the fact that he stole from Gabriel, and that's how presumably everything started between them. But the fact that Johnny later adopts Black Tech by Exerd Revelator, you can tell that Gabriel had a hand in giving him resources, just letting him be the hero he wants to be, because Gabriel might see some earnesty in that. Like, if he could be Johnny, I think he would be Johnny, but he's more grounded to the horrible realities he's seen. He can't just run away from home like Johnny did and just, you know, play hero, play Batman.
He has lost his whimsy in a way.
I think it also speaks to like a certain strength and poise that Gabriel carries himself with, and the trueness to his ideals that he constantly maintains, that even though Johnny stole from Zepp, because he did it in a way that aligned with what Gabriel believed, like he's more than willing to turn a blind eye to it, and then even to help May after the fact, I think, again, really just kind of speaks to the essence of his character as, like, the most, or if not, like, you know, one of the most morally upright people in Guilty Gear, who just unshakably believes in, like, you need to do what's right, and what's right is something that you define.
Yeah, he's all about guilt and freedom. Like, he's the perfect he's the perfect Gear character.
But yeah, no, and then there's... I'm sorry?
Sorry. Just knowing that what the May ship could have been a weapon of war, and seeing it used for something that's ineffably heroic, I think that's what stuck with him.
Yeah. The component of, like, building a country that is not just, like, the politics and militarism of it, but, like, you know, the importance of individuals and of culture, people, happiness, relationships. I feel like all of that is exemplified by Gabriel essentially gifting this ship to Johnny, like showing him, like, that matters to me too. I think is really, really cool. But just circling back a little bit too, this kind of more speaks again to his relationship with Pot than any other character. But I think you still do see shades of it with his relationship with Johnny, kind of how you mentioned, Ellie, is the fact that, like, a lot of this belies a certain sadness that, like, Gabriel, I think, almost feels as though, even though he's fought so hard for this freedom for everyone else, he kind of feels like he's the one person that can't take a deep breath, relax, and accept it, because in so doing it would weaken the stance of his country. Like, if he were to drop his like untouchable, ineffable facade for even a second, that things could be lost, because that's where they came from. You know, they lived through and experienced discrimination and slavery, so there's no sense of security there, even though he's surrounded by people who love and trust him, and that he loves and trusts in return. It's like this fight is still enduring through him, and I think that kind of bleeds into how I think that this is something we talked about in the previous podcast, how we would like to see him be represented in Strive, because I know something we were talking about then is, like, finally Gabriel takes a break, I think would be very cool.
Yeah, he just shows up like Hawaiian shirt, like
Yeah.
Oh, like a
Pina colada in
new
hand.
game drops, maybe not even Strive, and he's like genuinely just like he's graying. He's got maybe like a beard or like a gray mustache, and it's like, well done, my vision has been completed.
Mhm.
yes.
But he's
Or
like
not-
actually just calm.
Not even
Maybe he
completed,
even
right? 'Cause-
smiles.
Yeah, but like not even completed, right? Because I feel like something like this process of unlearning hatred and bigotry and discrimination is never truly over. It's always continual. But just knowing that like there are people who understand what he wants
Yeah.
and that he can relax, that it isn't just that like you know
Yeah.
being a good leader isn't just about always putting forward that image of perfection and doing exactly what's right all the time. It's also about being a human being and letting the people know around you that you're a human being too, that you still have those same feelings, that you're struggling alongside them rather than in front of them. And again, just so perfectly fundamentally Guilty Gear to be like, yeah, the conclusion of his arc should just be that he allows himself to be fallible and relax a little bit.
Yeah.
There is like a certain sense of machismo that we have in our culture where if a man does like step down to relax, it's insanely frowned upon. I wonder if that plays a part of it as well. Gabriel's like in the position of the father of a country. If he were to show weakness, people might emasculate him from what I've seen.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We very heavily fall into gender roles, like super heavy. My non-binary ass gave up on that.
Let's see. Is there anything else to talk about with Gabriel, or did we cover everything?
I mean, there are many things, but
There's infinitely many
There's
things
always
to talk
more,
about.
but
Let me see.
I guess just a
Jay, do
few
you have
more.
anything else written down?
Yeah, a few more things that I had were just like, you know, we talked about his relationship with a bunch of characters like Chip, Johnny's Slayer, and Pot, but if he were to come into Strive, who would you like to see as his arcade partner?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, good point.
I mean, Pot is the obvious choice, but like, I feel like correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Axel would be a really good kind of foil to Gabriel.
Axel?
Because-
Oh, someone that is like so carefree with no responsibilities, and like how Gabriel would tackle that. Would he be
Yes.
like, "Hey, Axel, do you need work? You look like someone that does not make money or participate in society."
tell him to get a job.
Axel low.
Get a job.
Okay. Oh boy, if I had to choose someone, I guess arcade partner. Well, I would like Potemkin. Johnny would be cool as fuck. 'Cause
Yeah.
A, Johnny needs a better arcade mode appearance, and B, knowing that Johnny's seeking out a very rare and unique thing in curing the Japanese, I wonder if Gabriel would take interest in that. Because, you know,
Yeah.
he's always like acutely aware of geopolitics for an isolationist political leader.
Like combating oppression is like so central to him too, so I feel like it's something he would jump at the chance to do. And I think another element of it that's actually very interesting to me is that like Johnny and Gabriel both kind of represent really hyper exaggerated aspects of masculinity, sort of harkening back to what we were just talking about, where like, you know, Johnny is the ladies man playboy trickster, and then Gabriel is the incredibly serious, incredibly strong, like all business kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's like, damn. He kind of reminds me of Uncle Sam. We don't talk about
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, I wasn't gonna say like almost George Washington in a way, but like
Yeah. but if he was good.
Yeah, but if he was a good person.
Yeah.
It's just that
Sorry,
sort
just
of like
imagine-
general aura, I guess.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
That position he
Yeah.
holds.
I'm just
No.
imagining Gabriel interacting with Kaino if they had an arcade mode, or even in just win quotes and be like, "Are you really running your nation right, boy? Watch and learn."
No, Gabriel calling Kai boy heals something in me.
Yeah.
No, but what's his face? No, I also think Sin would be a really good partner for him because like
Younger
Sin,
boy.
Oh yeah, because he
Sin-
protected
Sin-
Dizzy too.
yeah, like or Dizzy. Like I think the thing with Sin, right, is that like he just doesn't know. He's just unaware. Like having Gabriel kind of interact with someone who just like is completely unaware of like the horrible things that happen to him, and he can like help in front of him. I don't know.
I think Chip's another interesting one.
Absolutely.
For obvious reasons, right?
For sure.
the interaction between the two going through the arcade would be like, almost like a father and son kind of exchange going on, but
No, yeah, and I think it harkens back to what we were talking about in terms of like what they can teach each other by being leaders, right? Which is like, you know, Gabriel telling Chip that like it's really important to have poise and to be serious and responsible, whereas like, you know, Chip is trying to show Gabriel that it's like it's okay to let the mask slip a little bit sometimes and remind people that you're human, and remind yourself really that you're human, to be selfish, because that's like the most important thing you can do. Like at the end of the day, we're all doing things to make sure that the world ends up a better place, but you have to live for yourself, and that
sounds
freedom.
Like Chip has to show Gabriel some Naruto then.
Yeah, exactly. Like the
Oh,
freedom
no,
that Gabriel is
no,
creating to give to everyone can't exclude him.
Naruto. Ever. I tried that once. Did not work.
Yeah.
Episode 1 failed.
They might take to like Yu Yu Hakusho.
No. I'm trying to. What anime would Gabriel be a fan of?
Baki.
No.
If you gave him Baki or JoJo, he would eat that shit up. Because JoJo Part 3 is like...
No.
Part 3 is exactly his kind of shit.
Just like total anime. I don't know. I also feel like he would fuck with Madoka Magica heavy.
I could definitely see that again.
The consequences.
Fundamentally fighting against oppressive systems,
I need female Zeppelians stat. I know that the implication of having them is like really weird because, you know, the slave system, but we need more.
Well, I mean, Zepp is being revolutionized at the moment, so I think it's now about time that we could see this.
The effects of slavery on women, especially when, you know, we don't know where all these kids come from when it comes to the slave system. We need more acknowledgement on that end, as uncomfortable as it could be.
If it helps, I do have a female Zeppelin to see.
I do as well.
Fuck yeah!
Awesome.
We should make them friends.
We
should get Daisuke to hop on creating either of them or making both of them canon. Also, you're making me realize that it was something that we neglected this recording around, is addressing the history of slavery and like sort of the components of fascism that existed in South Asia, but I don't know if that was something that we still wanted to talk about.
Well, let me just pull up the section that I did. I have this shit like on hand.
Hell yeah.
Where are you?
Discord user jellyfish.
So, okay. Section 5, here we go. So, I touched on this earlier, but Pakistan and India's history and relationship with slavery goes back a while. I at least know that it became popular during the Islamic rule going on. And, you know, especially military slavery, that was, like, huge, where you just give up your child. But now it's more of an economic thing, where India currently has about 11 million. I think Pakistan has, like, 2.3 million. And, of course, I mentioned my family's own experiences with that previously, but seeing that slavery goes so unaddressed in a modern context, we in the West act like it's over, but it's never over. It's never truly over. We just exist in our own bubble, and if everything's fine here, then everything
Now we just have different language for it, as long as it's out of sight, out of mind, and that, you know, obviously our current tech industry is completely built on that.
Oh, yeah.
Prison labor. Awesome.
Woo!
Just
not woo, but...
Yeah. Just looking at current events and what's going on right now, looking at what Zepp is, the fact that it is so fascist, Indian nationalism is like something that's very prevalent in online spaces that I'm sure y'all have seen here and there. To the point where Indians and Pakistanis are so willing to give up their own identity to help a more oppressive government or a previous oppressor. Like, not to be that guy, but the white man will not like you. The white man will not like you.
Yeah. There was that one meme from like a while back where it's like that one kid saying like, "I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan."
Oh yeah. It's a huge issue that we grew up with nationalism in the veins where it isn't critiqued, and to question it is to question a whole system built on, you know, patriarchal respect. If you were to question your teacher or anything on that, you will get your ass beat. Being very frank.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to question that. You shouldn't be fully invested into a country this much. You can't even... There's, like, leader worship. very, very prevalent leader worship, ignorance of our expansionist tendencies and current occupations like in Kashmir, which Potemkin has connections to Kashmir. I can appreciate a lot. I think he's Kashmiri, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
But India and Pakistan are inherently starting to get to that point where they have the resources and still are using them to either constantly bicker with each other or try to expand. India especially. I might be biased in that because, Pakistani, and I will fully admit that bias because I do have Indian family on the other side. My grandfather was Indian. He came to Pakistan after eloping. It's a whole thing. But knowing what's going on between both countries, the Indo-Pak wars, the constant rumors, there's fear everywhere. And everyone's just growing up blind to what's going on. Blind to the fact that their country doesn't care about them. Their government doesn't care about them. The government cares about self-preservation and expansion, and that's about it. And so many young Indian men especially, which is why I think Zepp mainly has 2 male characters right now. So many young Indian and Pakistani men fall into this trap, my father included, which I'm glad he did not join the Air Force. I'm glad he came here instead. They are fully willing to lend their faith blindly. So to not be grounded in your own faith while doing something like that, it's very dangerous and it's not spoken about a lot. It's just horrid.
Yeah, no, it's still incredibly profound, like the impact that British occupation has had on South Asia, like even to this day. The fact that, like, the dogmatism of British people enslaving the people of South Asia has just become replaced with, like, the governments themselves kind of falling into a similar sort of rhetoric. So
even
again,
like police propaganda, like really strongly, and not many people are aware of it.
Which is, again, why I'm super, super grateful to have you on, and definitely entreat anyone interested to check out the document that you prepared, because it was so incredibly important to me. I feel like that you put that together, and I think I said it in the chat already, but I feel like one of the most impressive things that I've seen somebody put together for an episode of the podcast. So, like, absolutely worth your time reading if you want to become educated about this.
Because I do want other people in the fandom to get around to it,
Absolutely.
I will not be able to interact with a lot of people due to a certain situation going on right now, but if I can just have a more in-depth piece for people to read if they're willing to read it, and to see my own perspective on it, I even cite certain historical events like what was it? Who in the 1990s in Pakistan really reflects what Gabriel did, but in a more positive light. I will not discuss that here because I do not want the Pakistani government to snipe me.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Saluting emoji.
But
Jay.
I think that with that, we're looking a little bit better to wrap things up, unless anybody else had any closing thoughts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to close it out, to bring it more into a lighter note before we end, shout out to Gabriel, who has the funniest scene possibly in all of Guilty Gear, which is Soul and Vernon and Strive calling up Zepp as their last hope to save them from Happy Chaos Onslaught on the White House, and Gabriel immediately picks up the phone and says, "How'd you get this number? We have traced it. We have traced your location, and we are sending the nukes to your location right now. Goodbye."
Don't let that man play Fortnite ever. Don't let him play anything.
No.
IP address in chat.
Gabriel would be a monster on Fortnite, yo.
Do
not get him on voice chat. Do not get my boy on voice chat.
Oh my goodness.
It's just like speech to text and it reads out your IP address. It's not even his voice.
But yeah, I guess that's it for the Gabriel podcast. Thank you, all 3 of you, for joining me on this. A second time, actually.
Yeah, the reprisal.
Thank you. I feel so I felt like very at zen, like relaxed listening to this one today. I just have been mashing buttons on Exert and just like feeling good about life. And I hope if you guys listen to this episode, the viewers, that you feel kind of the same way too.
And check out
you guys
the
have
document,
any
please.
final things? Yes, check out the document, please.
Yes.
I spent like 12 hours on that shit.
Hell yeah.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up too.
Oh.
Slightly related to Gabriel, not exactly.
Ooh.
And it's that if you are a fan of Guilty Gear lore, such as knowing even who Gabriel is, and you're interested on Gabriel's like relationships with other characters, such as Slayer, who is dropping very soon into Strive, please check out the recent Knight of Knives translation that has been done by Vapor Babe and Renexus on Twitter. They have put a lot of time into translating this, and now it is fully in English, properly translated. We are no longer using Gear Project's translations for this, and it is accurate, and it's a really good read. So if you want to know more about Slayer and maybe help that connect that to the conversations that we had about their relationship with Gabriel today, I would suggest checking that out. That'll be in the comments.
Awesome.
Yo.
But yeah, that's about it. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
See you later, Zepp.
Bye.
Thank you.
Sorry, get along.